Polinski, the international man of action, and you can find me and my articles, many articles, and soon to be released podcasts on www.menofaction.com. And today's beautiful sunny January day, and I was heading out to visit my mom for a while, and I had the radio on, and the sports guy was talking about how baseball spring training was right around the corner. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you know, Super Bowl is still a week away, and snow on the ground. It's 20 degrees out. I don't want to think about baseball. And guess what happened? Bam, I'm thinking about baseball, right? And what I'm really thinking about is a childhood memory relating to baseball. And as I was thinking about this memory, it just dawned on me. It's like, wow, I could use that lessons of that story today in my life. And you know, just maybe some people, other people can use that story as well and implement it in their life. So that's why I'm sharing that with you today. And as I tell you the story, I want you to keep something in mind. That the story I'm going to tell you, I'm going to kind of tie it in with setting goals. And the difference between setting goals and actually achieving them. Some of the things that you have to do, the steps you have to follow, transform your goals into realities. So here we go. We're going to go way back in time, 1976. I was 12 years old, and it was summer between 8th grade and high school. And during the summer, my buddies and I, we spend most of the time in the park playing baseball, football, basketball, you name it. We spend the entire day out in the park. And this one particular day, I was hanging out with two of my closest friends at the time, Greg and Pete. Pete was 12 years old, just like I was, and Greg was just a couple months older. He was 13. And the three of us were huge Chicago White Sox fans. And at the time, in '76, I believe, the White Sox were considered, their nickname was the Southside Hitmen. And we found out that day, the White Sox were playing the Milwaukee Brewers, doubleheader up at County Stadium in Milwaukee. And this was back when the Brewers were in the American League. And then we were thinking, wow, wouldn't this be cool if we could actually go to this game? And, you know, we tried different things. First thing we tried to do is, we had some other friends who were slightly older than us. We asked if they would want to go. And they're like, no, you're crazy. I'm not going up to Milwaukee for a game. We were determined. So our goal, go to a Sox game at County Stadium, Milwaukee. Our starting point, Chicago. We had no idea how to get there. But being 12, 13-year-olds, we had a very vivid imagination, so the wheels were turning. As it turns out, Greg's older brother, he commuted to work every day. He took the train. So he left his car behind. And, you know, we're convinced he wanted us to borrow the car because he left the keys at home. So all of a sudden here, we got our vehicle. And a little side note, I do not recommend 12 or 13-year-olds getting into a car and driving anywhere, you know, load up in 90 miles to another city. So anyway, we had our vehicle. We still had no way of knowing how to get there. You know, you have to remember, this was way before the internet. No such thing as MapQuest. So we got our vehicle. We asked around. We found out which road we had to take in order to get to Milwaukee. We knew where that highway was. We were on our way. Now, it was pretty funny because, you know, 12, 13-year-olds, and we're driving along on the highway, and, you know, we tried to get the serious look on our face so we looked like mature 16-year-olds. Anyway, so we're driving along, we're following the signs, right? You know, Milwaukee ahead. Now we're out at the Milwaukee city limits, and we're like, okay, now what? So what did we do? You know what? We pulled over, we asked. We asked for directions, and from that point, just outside the city limits, all the way to County Stadium, we must have pulled over half a dozen times just to get us further along, until we finally reached our goal of getting into County Stadium and watching the ball. And we got inside, and I tell you what, we thought we were the coolest thing ever. So, here's the point. How do we relate this to our life today? We had a goal. We had a starting point. We had no clue how to get there. So how did we get there? We asked people who knew how to get there. As 13-year-olds, we knew that we weren't supposed to know everything. I mean, we have parents and teachers telling us that all the time. You don't know anything. You're a damn kid. So we had no problem asking. Now, something happens as we get older. We start hitting 30s and 40s, and all of a sudden, we have this notion that, we're supposed to know everything. And if we let people onto that we don't know everything, they're going to think we're idiots. How stupid is that? What would have happened as we're driving along, instead of trying to look like 16-year-olds, we're trying to look like 30 or 40-year-olds. Well, driving around thinking, well, you know what, we should already know how to get there. So we're just going to try to get there. And would we have reached our goal? Yeah, maybe. Maybe we would have gotten there. And maybe by the time we finally got to County Stadium, the game would have been over. We would have missed the game. We would have missed our opportunity to be in the game. All right, so what does this all mean for you? Let's break it down. Number one, you have your goal, right? You know where you want to be, further on in your life, business. You know where you're starting from. Now, a lot of people get all cut up with, they don't know all the steps that's going to be involved. They put too much thought into it at this point. They start thinking about, how's this all going to happen? You don't have to know everything at this point. You just got to figure out how to get started. Figure out what you want to do. What's your vehicle? For us, it was finding a car. What is your vehicle? Invest in yourself. Learn what you need to learn to get yourself going. And by all means, tap into all the resources out there. They'll give you the answers you're looking for, the direction you need. Look for the people that have already been to where you want to go, and seek them out, and get their advice, get their direction, get their experience, and you'll be well off on your way. You'll reach your goal a lot faster. Remember, this is your goal. This is your vision. You got to make this real. This is very important to you. So do whatever it takes. Push that darn ego aside. Swallow that pride a little bit, and do what it takes. But the one thing that you never, ever want to do is let your 12 or 13-year-old drive a car. No, never. Out. Don't think about it. Bad. So, Slawek Polinski, the international man of action, signing off. We will see you soon. Go get your goals.